Hi and welcome back to the Stitching Spirit channel. So today I'm going to be showing you a couple of ways to split your thread, and I will also be showing you a couple of ways to store your thread. Let's go! Okay, so generally when you buy thread you will get them in these, which are called skeins. There probably is lots of other ways to say that in many other dialects and accents, but that's how I say it. So basically they come like this, and you always start from the bottom. See how that's got like a little thread at the bottom? Always start from the bottom where the barcode is. Generally, most of the time, make sure you pull from there. Just because if you pull from anywhere else, it can get tangled and then you have to unknot it and then it's a bit of a pain. So always pull from the bottom. And you also get skeins like this. So see how it's a bit different? It's like twisted rather than just in like a loop. So these ones again are a little bit more tricky, but they generally come like this when they are like hand embroidered, hand dyed or anything like that. So I'll show you how to unravel one of those, and I'll also show you how to unravel one of those. I'll also show you a couple of ways to store them. So generally I store them like this. So they would be, I'd put the little number on the top so I know which one it is and what brand it is. You can get stickers for these as well, so that would make it easier if you're like super organised or you want to just have it really nice and neat. You can get stickers that go on these. I do sell these bobbins on my Etsy store and on my website, so you feel free to go get those. These are nice plastic ones as well. You can get cardboard ones. I used to use cardboard ones when I was a kid and I used to start. They are sort of a cheaper option, but they are worth it getting the plastic ones, simply because they don't bend and they don't tear. Eventually, with you obviously using these a lot, because one skein generally, depending on how much embroidery you do, lasts quite a long time. So if you're putting it into something, they bend and they used to tear if they were cardboard, whereas these are really sturdy. So I would definitely recommend these little plastic bobbins. And also this, so generally you get these if you buy a kit, or if you just you can get sort of like more permanent ones, like wood ones, but generally these come in kits. These are just thread organisers if you're just using a small amount of thread, so I'll show you how to use those. But this probably isn't more of a permanent thing for all of this. This is probably just something you would use if, say, you're using, like if you're doing an embroidery project or a specific pattern and you're only using a small amount of thread. This would be an easy way for you to sort of store a small amount. So yeah, let's get going. I will show you first of all how I would put one of these on one of these. So what I would do is I would pull both the labels off, and then make sure you remember what the number is. The number of the colour is just at the bottom. Can you see that? So that is the colour you need to write down. So basically you'll have, it's like folded over. Can you see how it's folded over? And then I'm just going to push my thumb very gently through the middle. And you might need to just see that there, see that little fold? So I'm just making sure that's all, not got any folds in it, like this. And then generally I put it on my wrist, pull that thread out that I told you about before, it's right there. Then I would get this, and there's two little slots at the top. Just put your thumb on there, that into there, and then just wind it on. I do try and make sure it's like fairly even across the bobbin, just so then if you're putting quite a few in a row, they sit more evenly. And then you just put the end in the other one, or you can put it in the same one that you started with. And then I would just get either, you can get a normal pen, but generally I use like maybe an acetate pen, or like maybe even a friction pen, but just something so that you can write the number in the middle and then just put the brand there. So that is what I would do with that, and then I would just do that for the rest of the threads I was going to use, and that's how I would store them. See how there's a little sticker there? So that's the sticker I meant. So that is how I would do one of those. I'm going to keep that with that so I know to write that on. And then for one of these, so it's very similar, but it's a bit more twisted and it can be a little bit more difficult sometimes. I usually get somebody to just hold it just so it's a bit easier to unravel. You can also get, I can't remember what they're called, but I'll leave a link below, and they are sort of, I think initially they were used for like if people had wool, and then you would unravel the wool and make it put it on this like wooden stand, and then I'll leave a picture here and I'll show you, and then you would put the skein unraveled on the top, and then you could just pull it and the big wooden thing, spinny thing spins, and then it makes it easier for you to hold it, because I'll show you. So I'm just going to take the label off. Again, I'll keep hold of that. And then I'm just going to pull that out and just pull it like that. And then I would maybe let it go just so it sort of untwists itself. And then generally there's two ends. There's one end that has like a little loop like this, which is generally where the ends are and they've tied it. And then the other end, which will just be the folded end. So then I would just pull that like that, so that's tight. That's what I'm saying. I would normally have somebody holding it like this if you can, or you might even, if you've got like two thin objects, maybe a couple of glasses or something heavy, and then I would hold it like this. And then what you can do is sometimes you can unravel these little knots, like the little tiny knots at the end, but generally I would just snip them. Just be really careful, obviously don't, just make sure you're definitely just at the ends, and then that will just, they might even be double knotted like that. So then I would just snip that again on the other side, like that. So then I definitely know that's got all the knots in it, so that's one end. So then, with great difficulty by myself, I could just keep it on my wrist like that and just keep adjusting it. So I would, let me get another bobbin. So I would just start that end like we did before, click it in, start reeling it around. You can just pull it a little bit, just be careful. Start winding it again. Maybe just keep tightening this just so it's like that. Again, keeping it even so that it's equal thickness along the bobbin, just so it's not super fat on one end. And then just keep going. Then again, I would just tighten it at the end like that. And then I would just again label it so that I knew that that was that one. So yeah, and another way you can do it is also by using these. So if you had, say, just a really tiny embroidery that you were doing, so you would cut your length. Generally, I say the best to start with as well is to just do from like you holding it and maybe just a couple of like the size of your hand, what, 2 inches, 3 inches, just over, and then just cut it up to your elbow like that. That's a good amount. And then what you would do is take that, fold it in half, so it's like that. Take your card, pull it through so that you've got the loop through like this. And then you're just gonna take, these are the loose ends, you're just gonna take it and pull the loose ends through the loop, and then that is how you would generally keep those. And obviously you could do that with quite a few number of strands like that, and you could do it with thinner strands as well if you've already split it. And then you can also colour code them on the back, so that is a really easy way if you've just got a little bit of thread to store those. But generally, like I say, I store them on these, and then I'll show you a picture. I have quite a lot, I'll leave the picture here. And then, so let's go on to splitting. Okay, so to split your thread, again, I've just kept it that same length, a little bit over and up to my elbow. And I would say, because generally you would use 2 strands of thread, and this is a 6-strand thread cotton. Most embroidery threads are 6 strands. This is a DMC. That other colour one that I showed you, the Steph Francis one, that was 6 as well. You can get lots of other thicknesses. There's a whole, like, just a massive amount of types of thread, thicknesses. Yeah, it's huge. So I would definitely encourage experimenting, because that is probably one of my favourite things to do. And if you're a bit worried or you're a bit apprehensive, definitely just start with 6 strands, which are the DMC or anchor threads or anything like that, or even just cheaper brands if you're not fully invested. And there is also these type of threads. So these are silky petite threads. So these generally come on these little spools, so they're really handy that you don't have to do any of that. And if you pull out one, like it's just a 1 strand thing, that is equal to 2 strands of this. So if you're somebody who doesn't really like the idea of splitting thread or doing any of this, these are really, really good. I did used to sell packs of these, so keep your eye out for those. Silky petite 12 weight threads, these are. I think you can get different thicknesses, but these are good to start with. I'll put that back on there. So you can also get pearl cotton, which is like just single strand threads. But I won't go too much into threads. I'll do another video because there is a lot of different types of threads. So starting with the basics, 6 strand cotton. Generally you use 2 strands within a 6 strand thread for most kits, patterns, and it's just a good amount to use as well. Like 2 strands is just a nice amount. Like if you want to make something really thick and stand out, you'd maybe use like 3 or 4 strands. Again, depending on what you're doing, you'll learn sort of how many threads you like to work with and the differences of the different amount of threads and what difference they make. Like say for instance you were doing a pattern that was sort of something in the background, you would want to do it quite thin so that it doesn't stand out, whereas something's really in the foreground of the picture, you do it maybe a little bit thicker. Or yeah, you'll learn how to like judge that as you go along. So start with 2 strands. So all I'm going to do is take the ends and I'm just going to use my fingers to like pull them apart like that, just really gently, and keep 2 strands in one side and then the other 4 in the other. And then what I generally do is use my finger and thumb on one side and then 2 other fingers on the other side. So it's like this. So you've got 2 strands here, 4 strands in the other. And make sure you've got tight hold of those so they won't come out of your hands. And then all you're going to do is let it dangle and let it untwist naturally. If you're finding that your thread is knotting a lot or it's just not very nice to pull out or anything like that, just let it dangle like this. This will stop it from knotting and getting so caught up all the time. So all I'm going to do is use my thumb and I'm just going to gently just pull it down like that. Just very, very gently. If you find that this is getting all like chewed up, and you can use the rest of your hand to like stroke it out almost, that's what I do. And then just all the way at the bottom and try and keep hold of one side, and then that's how I do it. And again, letting it all dangle so it all untwists, and that's it. So you've got your 2 strands there. So I would just, that's it. And that is the way I do it. There is, I imagine, lots of other ways that people do it, but that is the way I do it. I find that the easiest way. There is lots of other ways that I've seen people, the way I showed you on here, people sort of pull them from there and it sort of unravels one at a time. You can do that if you want just 1 strand. Again, just pulling them apart like this, and then you could just pull it out like that, and then that gives you 1 strand, and then you could just keep doing that and then when you've got however many strands you want, place them together, making sure the ends line up and putting them back together, and then thread your needle and you're good to go. If you have a different way that you split your thread, please let me know. And yeah, see you next time.